Hello and welcome back to Buggleskelly Station. We're here in sunny Bognor Regis to commemorate one of the finest character actors in British cinema history.
Next train's gone. The next train's gone.
What do you mean next train's gone? There's no sense in that. It's like saying that the last train that came in hasn't...
Hasn't what?
Well, hasn't gone. Don't argue with me. Come out and let me in.
Come out? What, at night? Not me. I think I'll have a go. Have one?
Yes, made me hoarse listening to you. I'll have a black currant.
Ah, black currants.
Well, what's the matter? They're very nice. Don't you like them?
No, I always put them back.
Yeah.
Moore Marriott is best known today for playing the old man Harbottle, or Jerry, in the films with Will Hay, Arthur Askey and the Crazy Gang. But decades before the talkies, Moore Marriott was a silent cinema star. Moore Marriott's parents were both actors, and Moore made his stage debut at the age of 5. Before long, he was one of the biggest film stars in the country. For his role as the engine driver in one of the first British talkies, 1929's The Flying Scotsman, Marriott had to learn to drive the engine in real life. These skills came in useful later when he played an engine driver in Victoria the Great in 1937.
Are you the engine driver? Yes, sir. My lord, if you please. Yes, my lord. I am the Earl of Albemarle and master of the Queen's horse. It is my duty to inspect Her Majesty's travelling equipage, horse or no horse. Is this contraption of yours in working order?
In the same year, he put his engine driving skills to use again, alongside Will Hay and Graham Moffatt in Oh Mr Porter.
Well, where's the coal?
In the scuttle.
Yeah, oh, there's not enough coal there to boil an egg.
And it's been put in the tender.
Oh, that's all right. Here, you can't destroy these. Why, they're company property. Destination boards. Look, Belfast, Tipperary, Dublin, Cheltenham. Oh, you can burn that one.
A few years ago, the Will Hay Appreciation Society fundraised for a plaque to Moore Marriott, and today we're finally getting around to sticking it up. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us here in rainy, oh sorry, that's last week's, in sunny Bognor Regis. For those who don't know me, I'm Tom Marshall, and I founded the Will Hay Appreciation Society back in 2009. We've done events commemorating Will Hay and Graham Moffatt, and today, of course, Moore Marriott. Firstly, I would like to thank Mike and Anne for allowing us to install the memorial plaque here today on their home, where Moore Marriott semi-retired to when he moved to Bognor in the late 1940s. According to his obituary in the Bognor Regis Observer, it was here that Moore fulfilled his real ambition to become an architect, designing the castle-style one-room flat, which is at the rear of what used to be Glee's shop at the front here. I'd also like to thank the Mayor and Mayoress of Bishop's Wallop for turning up as well. And I'd like to thank all the members of the Will Hay Appreciation Society who donated money towards the plaque that we're going to unveil today, and to Steve for supplying the broken biscuits. I'm delighted to say that we are joined by Will Hay's granddaughter Virginia today. I've had a message from Graham Moffatt's children who sadly couldn't make it to say they wish they could be here. So thank you to them as well. And of course we are joined by Moore's family. Moore's grandchildren, Jill, Jack, Georgina and Bob, plus Moore's great-granddaughters Sonia and Sally. So thank you everybody who's travelled so far from up north to be here, because no one's come from down south, let's be fair. Moore's granddaughter Liz is sorry that she and her brother Roger couldn't be here today, but Liz has sent a message from Australia to say she's a proud granddaughter and is sure that Moore would have been a lovely man. She's looking forward to seeing lots of photos and videos. It only remains for me to wish Moore Marriott a happy 139th birthday, and to pass you on to a man who has just returned from playing Eric Markham at the Edinburgh Fringe, and we're delighted to have him here today to say a few words about Moore Marriott. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Golding.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope someone's celebrating my 139th birthday in a few years' time. Quite a lot of years, I hasten to add. But sorry, I haven't learnt my speech, but I have written some nice words. I hope you'll agree. I'm no authority on the work of Will Hay. I never met him, nor did I see him perform on stage, but I saw all his films, and I've been a fan ever since. These are the opening lines of the foreword of Ray Seaton and Ray Martin's 1978 book, Good Morning Boys, Will Hay, Master of Comedy. And that quote was kindly written by the late, great British comic Eric Morecambe, whom, as an actor, I've played in various stage and screen productions over the last 15 years. And much like Eric on Will Hay, I'm certainly no official authority on the life and works of the brilliant Moore Marriott, but I have adored everything he's done. George Thomas Moore Marriott, born on this day in 1885, a Middlesex boy of actor parents who somehow, even as a relatively young actor, would go on to become the definitive comedy old man of British cinema. Anyway, I'm deeply honoured to be here today and to be asked by Tom and on what would have been Moore's 139th birthday, joined by the fans and family of this great actor. But, oh, steady, what's happened? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So let's just think for a minute. Sorry, it's not much longer. Let's just think for a minute how great he was. To put it into context, how we rate our film stars nowadays. And when we think of some of the greatest and most respected actors of our time, we've probably mentioned the likes of people like Keira Knightley, who's appeared in 44 films, Dustin Hoffman, 66 films, George Clooney, he's made 68 films. Johnny Depp has only made 70 films, believe it or not. Comedy actor Will Ferrell, 87 movies. Morgan Freeman, the great Morgan Freeman, only 110 films. Susan Sarandon, 170 movies. Even Michael Caine has only made 177 films. I mean, I could go on. Brad Pitt, 106. Robert De Niro, 128. But Moore Marriott, over 300. 300 films, silent and spoken word, comedies, straight drama, shorts, and feature film. Now this is a huge career achievement and a real tribute to his talent, I think. And as a 54-year-old character actor myself, it's an enviable career to say the very least, and one that certainly merits the respect and acknowledgement we're giving him today by commemorating where Moore Marriott ended his days here in Bognor with a fantastic plaque. And so to Tom and all the organisers and contributors of the WHAS, you certainly haven't wasted your time. So I'd just like to conclude with a quote from one of Moore's brilliant characters, with a poem featured in Ask a Policeman from 1939.
Yes, we want to know the last line of an old rhyme.
Oh, I know lots of old rhymes.
When the tide runs low in the smuggler's cove, and the headless horseman is seen above, he drives along with his wild hello. That's the time when the smugglers go out in their little boat to the schooner and bring back the kegs of brandy and rum and put them in the devil's cave below. A wholehearted thank you to the ever-brilliant and hilarious Moore Marriott. Thank you.
Hey, woohoo! Oh, lovely. What was this man doing?
Sticking.
You have the impudence to tell me that I was doing... What's that? Oh, a policeman.
Yes.
I want to go to Birmingham and they're taking me on to cruise. Oh, Mr. Porter, what a funny man you are.
After the unveiling, I sat down on the Bognor seafront with Bob Golding to chat about his own career and more about Moore. And more. We're talking about films that are now over 70 years old. Why do you think his characters are still funny today?
Oh, because they are on a level that is still funny, as in there was nothing political about them at all. It's slapstick wordplay comedy. I'm a dad of 4. Puns are probably the funniest things that ever happen other than farts in my age range, my life now. So they were the kings of that, you know. It wasn't children's entertainment, and yet was so accessible for kids. I think that's what made a big difference for me, seeing the Will Hay films as a child and now loving them. I see so many more layers of the comedy now as an adult as well, and being a comedy actor myself. The slapstick side of it was just hilarious. We laugh at that kind of stuff. We laugh at people falling over and other people's misfortunes. That's probably a trait of the British, I suppose. But we're a country of Mickey takers, so that's why it appealed to me.
I'm sure you won't mind me saying that you're 54 years old.
Thank you.
The same age as Moore Marriott when he played Old Man Harbottle in Ask a Policeman.
Was it?
Have you ever considered having all your teeth taken out so you can play a toothless old man?
No. Although I've had one taken out. One of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life was a toothache I had about 7 or 8 years ago. It was absolutely excruciating. Don't have root canal surgery, folks. Don't have it. It's a con. Just take the tooth out. I think that's a step too far. But use what you've got. You know, that's one thing that I've always been told in my career is, you know, work with yourself and work with your own tools. And Moore Marriott had no teeth. That's correct, isn't it? But it had 4 sets of performance teeth, if I'm not mistaken. 1, a few, several, and then a full set, right? Yeah. Which completely changes your face. I've got a friend, actually, someone who lives near me, who has no teeth, but has false teeth as well. Now, when he has no teeth in, he looks 90 years old. When he puts his teeth in, he looks like 35. It's crazy, the difference it makes. So Moore, maybe he was ahead of the game as an actor. Maybe.
To a certain generation, your voice is very well known as the nearly 200-year-old engine Stephen in Thomas and Friends. Did you enjoy the role, and were you ever tempted to give him the Old Man Harbottle voice?
Yes. I think I had possibly used the Harbottle voice in some jobs that I've done over the years, playing archetypal old men. But with Stephen, one of the producers and directors on it, Sharon, came to see me in a one-man play that I did, Markham. I think she came to the Richmond Theatre, and afterwards said, and she was very showbiz. She's a bit like Joanna Lumley. She was like, darling, it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'm producing Thomas and Friends now. I'm going to get you on the show. I'm going to get you on. I thought, you're absolutely brilliant. I think there's something for you here. I think there's a character. I didn't think anything of it, because showbiz promises are exactly that. They don't necessarily mean anything. A few weeks later, she was good to her word. She phoned my agent, and I was in the studio, and they said, oh, I think we want to go. They told me, really, we've got Stevenson's rocket here, Stephen. I think we want to go with an Eric voice on it, because he's accessible, he's friendly, there's nothing threatening about him, and he has that kind of old uncle feel about him. So I, did that little voice, oh, here we are. Oh, where are you going to go, Thomas? Oh, over there. All right. And he had that sort of nice, comforting sound to him. I think it worked quite well. I'm really proud of my involvement on Thomas, actually. I did a lot of episodes. I did a few other characters. Well, you probably can tell me. I can't remember who I played on it, but the one I'm more connected to and affectionate about is Stephen, of course.
Could you imagine any actor today having over 300 films to their name?
It's crazy, isn't it? That 300 films, some of the best known film stars of our time. Michael Caine was 175 films or something. That's crazy, isn't it, compared to the 300? British cinema obviously has changed a lot over the decades. And I think Moore Marriott and the likes of him were around during the golden years of that. It's got to come back at some point.
Of the 300 films, which is your favourite and why?
Do you know, I was discussing that with another member of the Will Hay Appreciation Society today, and we both agreed that whichever film we haven't seen as much in more recent times is the one we go, oh, I love that one, I've got to watch it again. For me, it's Where's That Fire? That's where it all started. But I've gone through, I mean, I love Hey Hey USA, which, you know, Moore wasn't in that, or Graham. That is showing Will Hay to be a great comedian on his own. In fact, Ronnie Barker called him the greatest straight man that ever was, which I think is a slightly underused and underplayed phrase. Straight man doesn't mean being straight. Straight man means knowing the art of comedy and playing it with whoever you're playing with for the better of comedy. And sometimes it's a joke against you and sometimes it's a joke against the other person. But Will Hay was an absolute master of that. So, I don't know, it's hard not to absolutely adore Oh Mr. Porter. Windbag the Sailor is just phenomenal. I mean, I'll just be here listing all his films, really, wouldn't I? So, but at the moment, I think it's got to be Where's That Fire? I just like it's both frustrating and awful and hilarious. The scene with the fireman's pole going through the old man's window and he's injured and in bed and you've got half the town in the bedroom and of course Charles Hawtrey coming in being the annoying schoolboy, annoying everyone. It's got so much to it, and my kids know them as well. One of my proudest moments was my son Ernie when he was about 9 years old watching Where's That Fire on his own, by his own volition, on his iPad, which that's a proud dad moment.
Finally, speaking to your inner Eric, who I know is always with you.
Oh yes.
Eric Morecambe was a big fan of Will Hay. What do you think he'd have made of today's events?
The unveiling of a plaque, I think if it was for Eric, if it was a plaque for Eric, I think it'd have been eternally embarrassed. And although played up to the crowd, I don't think he liked all that self-promotion stuff. But to sing the praises of another brilliant comic, he would have been all about. And in fact, as we know, he wrote the foreword to Ray and Roy's book in 1978, which is a brilliant book, by the way. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has got a copy or has read it at least or knows of it. But Eric loved comedy. In fact, he was obsessed about comedy. I know the family, Eric's family, very well, and they often talk of, Boxing Day, sitting around the dinner table, having watched the day before Christmas special, and Eric still asking them, was that funny? Was that funny enough? Did that work? That obsession with comedy, I'm not so sure if comedians have that now. They do on a professional level, but it doesn't necessarily... Well, perhaps I'm wrong. I want to be proved wrong. I want to see that wrong. And lots of comics have seen the plays I've been in, and modern-day comics, quite popular ones, and have been full of praise and full of wonderment about looking at how these characters and people that we idolise thought, because that's what our job to do now is to pass the baton on and tell the story of, it wasn't just about making people laugh, these were real people as well. And I think to make that more accessible and make that more exciting and enjoyable for the future generations is probably the most important thing I do as an actor and as a performer in comedy. So long may that continue as well.
Bob Golding, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. You do a great job.
He's not wasting his time,
Job.
Is that all right? I've just got Bog. Just got Bog. Nice.
Just got me.
Just got Bog. So, thank you for joining us. And here's to the old man of British cinema.
When the tide runs low in the smuggler's cove, and the headless horseman is seen above, he drives along with his wild hallo. Lickety-split, lickety-split, when the tide runs low in the smuggler's cove, and the headless horseman rides above, he drives along with his wild hello. And that's the time that the smugglers go in their little boats to the schooner, bring back the kegs of brandy and rum, put them in the Devil's Cove below. And that's the time that the smugglers go in their little boats to the schooner and bring back the kegs of brandy and rum and put them in the Devil's Cove below.
That's the time when the smugglers go out in their little boats to the schooner and bring back the kegs of brandy and rum and put them in the Devil's Cave below. See?
See what?
That's the last line.